A once great American city, Los Angeles, has been invaded and occupied by illegal aliens and criminals. Now, violent insurrectionist mobs are swarming and attacking our federal agents to try and stop our deportation operations, but these lawless riots only strengthen our resolve. I am directing Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, and Attorney General Pam Bondi, in coordination with all other relevant departments and agencies, to take all such action necessary to liberate LA from the migrant invasion and to put an end to these migrant riots. Order will be restored, the illegals will be expelled, and LA will be set free. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Like, why does he always sound like a bad guy? You ever know? He always sounds like the bad guy in a movie. What's bad about the Trump post? Well, I don't think LA has been invaded and occupied by illegal aliens and criminals. He's calling this an insurrection, which actually, I think, depending on the people attacking, I actually kind of agree with that. I think you could, if there was a violent group of people who were together, who were swarming against like ICE buildings to stop immigration policy from the federal government, I actually think that would hit all of the things to call it an insurrection, an insurrectionist mob. I think that's actually fair. But I mean, it seems pretty obvious that LA had the resources to handle it. California had the resources to handle it. So him being so hungry and thirsty to activate his National Guard here just seems like really ridiculous. Like I mean, this is what authoritarian leaders like to do. It's just crazy to me that, like, for all these guys who were obsessed with Jordan Peterson and archetypes and stories and Jung, like, all of them just sound so much like every authoritarian bad guy leader from V for Vendetta or like from every movie ever.
Does everyone that has been arrested by ICE agents have a criminal record like those you've described?
Absolutely not. And I said from day one, January 20th, we will prioritize public safety threats and national security threats. However, we will enforce law. I may prioritize my family life over my work. Doesn't mean I ignore my work. We're going to force immigration law. We've been honest about that from day one, especially in sanctuary cities. Well, we can't get the bad guy in the safety and security of a jail. They release him to the street. Well, we got to go to the street and find them. And when we find them, many times they're with others. Others that are in the United States illegally may not be a criminal target, but guess what? If ICE is there arresting that bad guy and other aliens are there, we're going to arrest them. That's what sanctuary cities get. They put us in the neighborhood, they force us in the neighborhood. This is what happens.
Wildly underprepared National Guard troops seen sleeping on floors in exclusive photos. Photos obtained by the Chronicle show California National Guard troops deployed by the Trump admin to LA packed together in what appeared to be federal building basements or loading docks. Maybe they're just chilling. Do you think there's any legs for an argument that we're screwed because the majority of people that show up to protests or rallies believe more in some form of radicalism than liberal democracy? Yeah, so I just yeah, it's hard because I guess I just sound like a contrarian on everything, but like people, like Hassan was going out to the protests and stuff, and I only tuned in for a little bit. I don't know, maybe there were different ones or whatever, but just because somebody goes out to a protest or just because somebody protests doesn't necessarily make it a good thing. Those people aren't protesting this administration. They're just out there with any opportunity to protest the United States. Like, that's it. Like, if you were to ask these people, like, if you were to go out and ask these people, like, what are you protesting? They're just going to say, like, immigration enforcement, period. Like, they'll say it's the same no matter which administration or whatever else. So, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, like, is every single Democratic protest now in the future going to have these retarded f***ing Palestinian flags showing up at it? Like, what the f*** does that even have to do with it? Yeah, I don't know. But the important thing is that there are like multiple reasons why this is really bad. One is that you don't want to form allies at protests with people that don't want anywhere remotely the same thing that you want. That's one. Number two is that these people, again, remember, are not practicing politics. They're going for engagement on social media, which leads into point three, and that there's no policy outcomes that these people are ever aiming towards. And I don't think people are aware of how strategic the organizing was in the civil rights era. Like, there are rooms full of people with MLK and other organizers where they're talking about, like, How do we organize? Where do we go? What's the most effective way to do it? What do we want the behavior of everybody to be? It's a very, it's organizing. It's organizing. It's not just random people showing up, with their phones for social media pictures. And there's an explicit goal. There are concessions they're looking for. There's legislation they're looking for. There are specific asks that are there because you need them. Because you want the other side to have something to negotiate against as well, right? There has to be something. But all it's been it feels like for the past 20 years, all it's been is just outrage at aimed in no particular direction, and then that's it. President Donald Trump's rush to deploy California National Guard troops to Los Angeles has left dozens of soldiers without adequate sleeping arrangements, forced to pack together in one or more federal buildings, resting on the floors of what appear to be basements or loading docks, the Chronicle has learned. The state troops federalized by the Trump administration over the weekend to confront immigration protesters without the approval of Governor Gavin Newsom were wildly underprepared, said a person directly involved with the deployment, who asked to remain anonymous because they were not authorized to speak on the issue. Senior military leaders advised Monday that the California troops could continue sleeping on floors or outdoors until Thursday, at which point federal officials would decide whether to make more permanent lodging plans. By Monday afternoon, additional National Guard troops were expected to reach LA, upping the total from around 300 late Saturday to more than 2,100. Dustin thinks Trump wouldn't manufacture fake protests and violence? No, he wouldn't, because they are too inept. It's time to address the optics cucks. Do you think the Mexican flags matter or not? I think I would need to hear a coherent argument for why they're good. I feel like the Mexican flags are cringe as fuck. I thought the point is that we're all Americans and we shouldn't be deporting people. I guess intuitively, I feel like if you're flying a Mexican flag, it's oh, okay, well, there's the Mexican, take him back to Mexico, bye. I don't know. That's my feeling. I don't what are you doing? I thought we were protesting Americans being deported back to, or being deported away to other countries. Not, I don't know why. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I should see Hispanic people flying American flags, but I also don't know. I don't even know who is involved in most of these protests. It's probably people that don't give a about America or don't give a about any real political end or anything as well. So they're just there to shit on America, I guess. I don't know. I think flying, paired flags, an American and a Mexican flag together, I think stuff like that, I think could be okay. But we're protesting Americans or people that live in America that are being deported back to another country. And we're protesting the, American federal, Immigrations and Customs Enforcement. This is a federal thing. So I don't know why, I don't understand. I would have to see the argument for just having, just flying a Mexican flag seems cringe. Well, if the alternative is those people stay at home and don't do anything like most Americans, then that would be preferential. Just stay home. If you don't know what you're protesting for, you don't know what the fuck you're doing, then just stay home and let the people that know what they're doing do stuff. You hurt the cause. Well, you don't hurt the cause. You hurt a politically effective cause. But I mean, it's helpful for social media pics. A lot of people are getting sick fucking selfies out of these protests. Hassan is making good content out of it,
Come and arrest him. Should he do it? I would do it if I was Tom. I think it's great. Gavin likes the publicity, but I think it would be a great thing. He's done a terrible job. Look, I like Gavin Newsom. He's a nice guy, but he's grossly incompetent. Everybody knows. All you have to do is look at the little railroad he's building. It's about 100 times over budget. We're putting a flagpole over there. Under budget. I always do under budget.
What does your intel tell you about these people causing all the problems in LA?
Oh,
Are they people ICE is trying to deport, or are they professional agitators?
The people that are causing the problem are professional agitators. They're insurrectionists. They're bad people. They should be in jail. Thank you.
Did he call for Gavin to be arrested here? Was it in the beginning? I can't hear shit.
To come and arrest him. Should he?
Oh, is it the Homan said to come and arrest him? Is that?
To come and arrest him. Should he do it?
I would do it if I was Tom. I think it's great. Gavin likes the publicity, but I think it would be great.
I'm not even putting this in. I can't hear this shit. I don't know what the fuck this is. I need to know what he's responding to. I need to know what it was before. This is retarded. Look at this comment on some saying they should use American flags at the protest. Mexican flags are good/neutral because some people are Mexican Americans and are being targeted by ICE just for being brown. It's at least a symbol that works for that. And I think you need to listen to your own arguments about concern trolling/optics cucks. We can't get bogged down with what might be bad when the other side is worse, especially in this situation where reporters are getting shot and people are being, then fly a pair of flags. Like, flags are important. Like, it's not, this isn't, like, you talk about like optics cucking. A flag is literally only there for optics. The whole point of flying a flag is to signal like what it is you believe in. And so if you've got a bunch of conservatives claiming we're being invaded by Mexicans, and then a whole bunch of people are, you know, like doing basically insurrectionist behavior with Mexican flags, I mean, like, it's just like, why the I don't know. Don't you agree that immigration is good for the country? That's what they're protesting for generally. Aren't you doing what you accuse the left of doing often and dividing the cause? The problem is that like ICE as an organization is a good organization to have. Laws around immigration and the border is a good thing to protect. Like, what we should be advocating for is comprehensive immigration reform, probably some form of amnesty for the people that are here, because that's the only realistic outcome, and then some like more reasonable border policy. But the messaging can't be illegal immigration is good, all illegal immigrants are good, and nobody should be deported ever, and ICE is inherently like an evil organization that needs to be disbanded. Like, this is just like a slightly less retarded version of ACAB. It's just stupid. It's aimless. Most Americans won't support it. There's no like coherent action plan for like what it seems like protesters are even calling for. Like, do you think the messaging on the left has been dumbed down because of the constant dumbed down messaging from right that gets perpetuated? No, the messaging on the left is because the people in charge of the messaging aren't in charge of getting people elected. I think if they spit, we will hit. What is a good example of an American protest? I feel like the civil rights era, from my very limited understanding of U.S. history, the civil rights era seemed to be the most pointed, best form of like targeted protests with specific asks in mind, with specific organizing principles. But I'm sure prior to that, I'm sure there were other great examples of protests. I'm sure women's suffrage had a lot that I just don't know about. The Boston Tea Party was the targeting of an explicit good that was dumped to protest an explicit policy. The catastrophic Gavin Newsom inspired riots. What? The insurrectionists have a tendency to spit in the face of the National Guardsmen, such women and others. These patriots are told to accept this. It's just a way of life, but not the Trump admin. If they spit, we will hit. Okay. Even MLK recognized why people riot. Yeah, and he told them not to constantly. MLK recognized how absolutely cancer, AIDS, violence, and rioting was to any particular cause. It's why they policed the out of their own organizers and protesters. What do you think of the Occupy Wall Street protests? The same thing. They were aimless protests that had no direction. They weren't making any specific policy aims. They didn't have any coherent organizers. They didn't really seem to understand what they were asking for. What's a good protest look like? Does protesting peacefully do good if the government is acting illegally? A good protest has organizers, and they have specific concessions that they're looking to get, and they're looking to get these concessions from a specific person. That's what you want. You have a person that you need to have a person that you can negotiate against. So obviously some kind of like organizer leader who's making like a specific actionable thing, an ask that you have. And then you've got a group of people that feel strongly about the cause and are rallying behind it, basically. There's a bunch of like more minor tactics that go into protests or whatever. I wouldn't know all of these. I don't do any of this, but without that broader stuff, it's just a bunch of people that get mad. Somebody keeps saying, sometimes it's good to just show dissatisfaction as well, especially now with everything Trump is doing. Maybe they should call for Trump to be impeached. If they wanted to center it on an impeachment or whatever, then sure, at least that's an actionable thing, sure. But no, just general dissatisfaction is not good. It doesn't do anything. That's why we just trade presidents from administration to administration and nothing actually gets done. Why is Trump so immune to criticism? Even when the left comes out to protest injustice, they basically never mention him because the far left doesn't care about Trump. They just hate the United States. I don't know how many more times I can say this. Do you think protests would be best if they were organized by the DNC with known speakers or more of a grassroots vibe? I mean, grassroots is the best, but the problem is there are no grassroots Democratic people now. It's all leftists and conservatives. All the grassroots people on the conservative side are trying to cash out into some kind of Trump support, and the grassroots people on the left are all fucking commies and losers, unfortunately. Would you be against the Vietnam protests in the 60s? What did I say that would implicate me being against the Vietnam protests in the 60s? Were people protesting U.S. involvement in the Vietnam War and they wanted us to not be in the Vietnam War anymore? What responsibility do you attribute to the DNC for the lack of grassroots movements in support of them? I think the Democrats, I think liberals are pretty spineless. I think it's, I mean, like, in a way it all, just analyze it all as a YouTuber. In a way it all codes back to that, like the online shit. And the way that, like, if people to the left of you are being crazy, you should be able to just, like, call them crazy and say, hey, it's time for you to get the out, like, you're insane, like, leave. But for some reason we can never do that. So when you've got, you know, when you've got trans women online talking about how they're getting periods, it's like, this is loony shit. Like, go do this somewhere else. Like, this doesn't have to be a part of our political movement. Or when you've got, you know, like MLs talking about how, you know, we need revolutionary speech. Like, leave, like, just leave, get them out. Like, we don't need these people. They're not helping us. They don't help. They're not good allies. They don't help us in anything. They don't want to do, like, let them go farm Instagram pics somewhere else. Also, remember, when you read messages like this, Destiny's for the status quo. He's a poor boy at heart who's benefiting from the system now, so of course he wants to support it. This is exclusively said by white people who grew up rich in this country and are just repeating shit that they heard from other radicalized classmates at whatever private university that their parents are paying for. Every single time, it is always these people. It is never anybody with an ounce of actual political experience anywhere, ever. It's always people who have zero political goals in mind and they just want to make as much noise as possible because they farm epic likes on their Instagram feeds and everything.
I'm inside the Emergency Operations Center run by the County of Los Angeles here with Governor Gavin Newsom. Governor, thanks for joining us live on MSNBC.
Good to be with you.
So this is, as I said, the Emergency Operations Center. I wonder how you would characterize the events that are unfolding in Los Angeles right now. Is it an emergency? Is it, Fox News is calling it the LA riots? Is it a peaceful protest? What's happening and what are you seeing?
Well, I mean, look, Donald Trump has created the conditions you see on your TV tonight. He's exacerbated the conditions. He's, lit the proverbial match. He's putting fuel on this fire ever since he announced he was taking over the National Guard. An illegal act, an immoral act, an unconstitutional act, and we're going to test that theory with a lawsuit tomorrow.
Well, I was going to ask you that. Sorry to interrupt you, but Governor, so that's news. If you're going to sue the administration, tell me a little bit about it. Give us a preview of this lawsuit.
Well, under his executive order, it specifically notes, and under what the DOD did, is they had to coordinate with the governor of the state. They never.
I think you're basing this too much off of the LA protests that have gotten the most attention from crazy far left people. I know organized protests are going on across the country through Mobilize. There is one big one on June 14th across the country that I know. All the major protests that Democrats have been a part of have seemed, I say Democrats, but like the left or whatever, have just seemed pointless. We got, like, well, look at the whole BLM ACAB shit. Literally nothing good came from that. All it did was hurt us. Nothing good. That was like the largest Dem protesting in how long? From before that, it was the Occupy Wall Street shit. Nothing really came from that. Maybe the consumer financial protection stuff from Elizabeth Warren, maybe. But like in general, like nothing huge came from that. It's the problem is these people are just not politically oriented. Compare this to what Republicans do. Look at January 6th. That was one protest on one day organized by the President of the United States that came within a hair's like distance of overthrowing the democracy of the United States of America from one protest that the president himself organized, right? Like, there's just no comparison. Like, what were those people there for? You had a bunch of people that went to one place, Washington, D.C., to the Capitol. They were there to protest the results of the election because they wanted to engage in an insurrection and overthrow the government of the country and install their own leader. And they were focused from top to bottom the entire time. They'd heard rhetoric and everything about it for a year. They had one place to go to, one event that they had to protest. They were all there on the right day to do a specific thing. It was just like, there's just no comparison. And then look at our grassroots organizers. Who do we have on the left? Some black separatist Nation of Islam, like trans wheelchair, Olympian or whatever, who's going to come out and talk about how the best way for black trans liberation in the United States is to be found through the children of Gaza. Like, that's our protesters. Meanwhile, on the right, you've got Charlie Kirk, who's made 7,000 fucking college campus visits in the past 2 weeks, who has a direct line to Donald Trump and is organizing like one of the it's just like there's no comparison between how the left and the right engages in politics. The left just the protesters and the rioters and the YouTubers and the alternative media sphere just don't engage in politics. They're just doing something completely different. It's so fucking annoying. This was front and center. I just didn't realize it then. But it's funny because actually you can hear this argument 3, 4, 5 years ago, how I would constantly complain over and over again. I didn't have the best language for it, but I would constantly complain, why are you crying so much about these kids on college campuses? They're not politically powerful, right? I'm complaining about MAGA, the far right. You're complaining about the far left. The far right is literally everybody in Congress now. The far left had the Justice Dems maybe, and they don't even like most of them anymore, right? Why are we complaining about these people? Somehow the far left is the voice of the Democratic Party, and the far left doesn't doesn't support the Democratic Party or care about politics at all. They just want to farm social media feeds. And meanwhile, the far right is like flipping as many levers of power as possible to, become authoritarian dictators in the United States. It's insane. If you're so politically inclined and savvy, why don't you organize a protest? Why aren't you doing more than just streaming? Oh, never mind, you got me. True, my bad. I'm not doing everything, so forget everything I said. Actually, this is based. I hope I see more people with blue hair out here. We'll just watch this.
Coordinate with the governor of the state. I've worked with the National Guard. We've deployed the National Guard. We did 3,000+ folks have been doing logistics work and fire recovery work, and they're fighting the fires, the rattlesnake teams. We did the same back in George Floyd with no.
As material conditions on the ground get worse, do you think things will change with suburban leftists? I understand what you're saying, that they're not actually helping the Democratic Party, but we need as broad a coalition as possible right now. You don't need as broad a coalition as possible. That's such bullshit. You don't have to incorporate toxic elements into your movement in order to make your movement work. If that's the case, then your movement sucks and it should fail anyway. You should have ideas that are broadly popular enough that you don't have to appeal to other authoritarians on the left in order to make your movement work. If that's the case, then movement. I don't want to be a part of your movement. That's so stupid. And it shows you have no conviction or belief in your ideas as well. If you think the only way to make your shit work is to partner with revolutionaries who would see you hanged if they had the opportunity to, fuck that. That's stupid.
Work and they're fighting the fires.
Well, I think the big thing you talk about the suburban leftists is like, who do you organize around or who do you gather around except for like radical leftists? Because nobody seems to have the balls on the left to like stand up to the more crazy people on the left. Like nobody actually has the balls to be like, hey, like the trans athlete stuff is like, this is kind of goofy, guys. Like, let's just move on from this. Or hey, socialism and communism, like, how about we just talk about like some redistribution or some higher tax brackets? Or hey, maybe we don't have to be, maybe America isn't like the most evil country on the face of the earth, and it's okay to support people like Ukraine. Like it's dumb.
1,000 folks have been doing logistics work and fire recovery work, and they're fighting the fires.
It's not about doing everything, but what's to stop you from lending your hand to strategize and organize movements? Bro, I've done probably more than any other streamer when it comes to donating time, money, and audience to organizing efforts and shit in the past. Like, I have my credentials. I don't know why you would even try to attack me on that. Have you ever done any kind of organizing shit? Yes, more than any other leftist dipshit fuck streamer you've ever watched in your entire life. So yeah, I don't know why you're asking me that question. Like,
the rattlesnake teams. We did the same back in George Floyd with no problem working collaboratively in a mutual aid system with local law enforcement. But there's a protocol, there's a process. He didn't care about that. And the worst part, he completely lied. He said in a tweet that everything's now safe, everything's fine. Is that the case, Mr. Trump? He said because he deployed the National Guard. The Guard hadn't even been deployed when he said this. It's Orwellian. Simply lying to people. Unconstitutional, illegal act. His mess, we're trying to clean it up.
You're saying that the President of the United States has made the situation on the ground here in Los Angeles less safe. What do you know about immigration enforcement today? Has there been any ICE raids in the city today? Are they coordinating with you on that at all? Are they giving you a heads up?
Of course they're not coordinating. That said, we were told in just a recent briefing just a few minutes ago there was small activity in the county and not in the city proper. But look, you made a point a moment ago. These images are unacceptable. These kids on the car, the folks that are taking advantage of this, these aren't peaceful protesters, a lot of these folks, a lot of great people out there doing the right thing. But you get these insurgent groups coming in, sort of these anarchists that are in there to create real problems. And they're just playing right into Donald Trump's hand. And they need to be called out. They need to be arrested. It is wrong to destroy other people's property, and it is wrong to create the conditions that only exacerbate this. But Donald Trump, at the end of the day, is the sponsor of these conditions.
Let me give you the opportunity. You mentioned that there are people out there causing mischief and mayhem. What's your message to those people who are out there tonight? Not the peaceful protesters that are out there protesting for the rights of immigrants, but for the people that are doing damage to buildings, to law enforcement out there.
Well, they're doing more than damage to buildings and to property. They're potentially damaging the very foundation of our...
Like, the whole goal for deploying the National Guard was to try to get people to do violent protests. Like, that was literally the entire point. So if you are out there, setting cars on fire, running around with your retarded Palestinian flag for some place that you can't even find on a map, I mean, you're just playing into Trump's hands. But if you were to tell these people that, they'd be okay with that, because it's all acceleration is up to them anyway. At the end of the day, they're not even affected by the shit that's going on.
Republic, the democracy is in the balance. I mean, you're seeing these authoritarian tendencies now are being acted out by this administration. And we're case in point as it relates to nationalizing, federalizing the National Guard, threatening now to put in Marines. So I hope these people would pause and just consider. Now, some of them, they want that kind of chaos. Some ways they're adjacent to where Donald Trump is. But the peaceful protesters, we want to keep them safe. We want them to exercise their fundamental rights. We want to keep those that are enforcing the laws in a respectful and responsible way also safe. But Donald Trump needs to pull back. He needs to stand down. Donald Trump is inflaming these conditions. This is Donald Trump's problem right now, and if he can't solve it, we will.
He continues to, as always, hit you hard publicly. Just 10 minutes ago, he put out another Truth Social telling you and the mayor to apologize to the people of Los Angeles. You guys go at it pretty hard publicly, but I know you talk privately. Have you spoken in the last couple of days to the president about any of this?
Yeah, we talked for almost 20 minutes, and this issue never came up. I kept trying to talk about L.A. He wanted to talk about all these other issues. We had a very decent conversation.
When was this?
This was late Friday night, I think about 1:30 plus his time.
After the protests had started here?
After the protests, and he never once brought up the National Guard. He's a stone-cold liar. He said he...
I feel like endlessly critiquing these rioting retards is something to further Dems' message. I've lived through the Arab Spring, and there was a lot more looting, mugging, and chaos than what's happening in LA, and people were somehow fine with it because of the broader message. Deposing of Ben Ali was galvanizing enough to make people turn a blind eye. I feel like you guys don't stress the unifying message enough, no? Is there a unifying message? So here's a question, all right? And if somebody wants to bring up, because Hassan went to one of these today, if we were to go and look up Hassan's stream, when he's at the protest, and somebody can link me a timestamp if you want, are we going to hear people rallying against Donald Trump and the Republicans and MAGA more, or are we going to hear them rallying around business owners and capitalists and billionaires and the corrupt two-party system and the lobbyists and the donors and the special interests? Because if it's the latter, these people aren't on your team. They're just shitting on America. They just want to hate America. That's it. They're not like, okay, what's your solution for everything? Like a socialist revolution? What do you even want to do? It's just that both sides are the same and we hate everything. So, I mean, like what? But somebody can link me the timestamp. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's actually a lot of pointed criticism at Donald Trump and the way that he's weaponizing ICE. So who knows? I don't know. Yeah, shoot me a link if you want.
He did. Stone cold liar. Never did. It was a very civil conversation. I've always wanted to approach engagement with the President of the United States in a respectful and responsible way. But there's no working with the president. There's only working for him. And I will never work for Donald Trump.
This is your authority normally to deploy the National Guard here. Right. You did it. We were together after the fires, and those National Guard troops have been out all across Los Angeles working to rebuild and recover this city. How did you find out that the President of the United States was going to usurp your authority and deploy your National Guard here in California?
I got
it on Twitter.
Call from a staffer. No heads up whatsoever. Wow. And again, we're here to support local law enforcement. There's a mutual aid process. Local law enforcement had no needs. They were not requesting any additional resources. I've got 100 now. I have 175 CHP officers, technically trained officers, tactical teams to address Donald Trump's mess. We're here to support local law enforcement, the sheriff's office, LAPD, but they didn't need that support. He made this up. This is a manufactured crisis in order to get under the tent to start to stretch credulity and to begin the process of moving inevitably towards a constitutional questioning crisis around posse comitatus. And it's, I think, inevitable. That's where he's going.
Tom Homan, the border czar, said to me yesterday he did not rule out literally arresting you, nor Mayor Bass, if you interfere in his work. He said you hadn't yet.
He's a tough guy.
Destiny, check what you're saying. Mexicans are humans that have rights, and we need to protect those rights against unconstitutional. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. I don't care. I don't know what you're talking about right now. Right now, when we talk about people being deported unlawfully, the issue that we're having is a lot of this is around people who are literally American citizens. If you're here and you're a Mexican and you've got like a green card or some other recognized form of documentation, yeah, your rights should be protected as well. I've never said anything different. I don't know where you would come away with the impression that I don't think that people from other countries who are here shouldn't have their rights protected as well. But I mean, like, fundamentally, this is like a big American problem with an American institution right now.
Doesn't he do that? He knows where to find me. But you know what? Let your hands off 4-year-old girls that are trying to get educated. Get your hands off these poor people. They're just trying to live their lives, man. Trying to live their lives, paying their taxes. Been here 10 years. The fear, the horror. The hell is this guy? Come after me, arrest me. Let's just get it over with. Tough guy. You know, I don't give a damn. But I care about my community. I care about this community. The hell are they doing? These guys need to grow up. They need to stop. And we need to push back. And I'm sorry to be so clear, but that kind of bloviating is exhausting. So, Tom, arrest me. Let's go.
The perception is there's a lot of theatrics happening out there. Mayor Bass told me that she spoke directly to Tom Homan. Has he reached out to you? Have you reached out to him?
No.
No communication whatsoever?
No, it's direct communication and back and forth with Susie Wiles and with the president in a phone conversation.
There obviously are pockets of violence out there on the streets. How concerning is the violence in Los Angeles tonight? How widespread is it, too? You're monitoring it.
Yeah, we're monitoring. I mean, I think that's self-evident. We're here with LAPD. We were here with Mayor. We're here with the Sheriff Department, my National Guard, that we're still working in command with, and others monitoring the situation in real time, providing whatever resources we possibly need. We're calling out the violence, period, full stop. It's wrong. And we're calling for the President of the United States to rescind his order so that he can clean up his own mess.
Stephen Miller, other people have used the word insurrection about the activity on the streets of Los Angeles.
Yeah, this is just there.
How do you effectively protest authoritarianism when most people don't know or feel any different post-election? Then you point out the particular things. I don't know. You point out the abuse that Donald Trump shouldn't be sending the National Guard. He doesn't have the authority to do it, right? I don't know. Protest the National Guard. Any movement of the National Guard. Be outside wherever they're, camped out at. Be outside. Don't deliver food if you're a DoorDasher or whatever, and you get an address where there are national. I don't know. Shit like this would be more effective. If you don't know how to protest authoritarianism, you don't know what that looks like. Then in that case, then you just fuck it. Then just be a Nazi or be a MAGA or whatever. If you're too stupid to defend a democracy, you don't deserve to have it. And we should just move on to the next whatever the next fucking form of government is. If people are too fucking retarded in an era where more information is available at your fingertips at any point in human history, if you're too stupid to understand how the system works, then clearly the system has fucking failed, and we'll go to the next thing, I guess.
They're trying to incite violence. They're trying to impose the kind of rhetoric that only makes conditions worse, that quite literally put people's lives at risk. And they're intentionally and knowingly doing that.
You have to choose a Dem nominee right now. Options are Newsom and AOC. Who is it? Probably AOC. I don't mind Newsom, but at some point we have to stop being reactive and we need to be a little bit more proactive. I appreciate that Newsom has come around on some things, but it can't be after years and years and years of governance and politics. I feel like AOC is a bit more forward-looking. I appreciate Newsom for what he's done, but why is Newsom against the National Guard here? Isn't this a bad look? Optics are important because the National Guard, because they didn't need it. There were no huge disturbances when the National Guard was called. There was absolutely no need to deploy it here, and the deployment of the National Guard was done in contravention of the will of the governor of the state, which isn't how it's supposed to be done unless there's an active invasion in the United States. The governor has to request the National Guard. The president can't just unilaterally force the National Guard onto the state. This is the state of California. LAPD is what? Do you think the second largest police force in the U.S.? Largest police forces, departments, USA. You think the LAPD was what? Didn't have enough people to respond to a couple protests? Give me a fucking break. Oh, Chicago is second. LAPD is third. There was no indication that the National Guard was needed here. Trump is literally doing it to bait. Trump is baiting. He's rage baiting. Unironically, he's rage baiting with the National Guard.
The president, we had a very cordial conversation on Friday night. I'm not looking to find a crowbar to put in the spokes of his wheels every day. Yeah, we'll stand tall and firm in terms of defending our values, but I want to find areas where we can work together. But you go after vulnerable communities, you go after kids. I was just down in Compton School District 3 days ago, and they were talking to me about this 4-year-old kid. They don't even know where she is. This is a serious moment. The hell is going on? Threatening real people. These are friends. These are people we know.
Do you think protests are even viable anymore? Yeah, listen, there's a saying that good artists copy and great artists steal. We should honestly just look at the right and say, well, how does the right protest? What does the right do? And then copy that. Look at the trucker protest in Canada. Trudeau almost had to wheel out some Insurrection Act shit to start sanctioning people's bank accounts to stop that. They shut down the entire Pacific Northwest economy for a few days. It was crazy. The right is just so much more pointed and so much more politically effective in how they protest and when they riot and everything. It's just we don't have that.
members of our community, destroying industries in the state. You claim to care about ranchers and farmers? You claim about construction industry? I mean, these are the folks that you're going after in the most uncivil and indecent way. And that's where I have a problem. I have no problem going after criminals. We've coordinated and collaborated with ICE. Over 10,000 transfers that have been part of my administration. So I don't need to be lectured by these guys that we don't coordinate and collaborate on violent
California State Prisons does hand over inmates to ICE.
And my legislature, with respect, it's not an indictment, but I've had to veto legislation for them to try to stop me from using that authority. So when these guys say we don't go after criminals, again, they're lying, and they are knowingly lying.
What's your message to the people that are out there protesting for the rights of immigrants? You want to see those protesters continue to be out on the street?
LAPD wasn't helping until Trump got involved? Bullshit. Shut the fuck up. You're fucking retarded. What, the 911 line was fucking dead? Of course they were helping. There's video, there's news reports, there's like people were protesting, LAPD was showing up. Off.
Protest these
I want
actions
them
by
to
the Trump administration?
I just want them to be safe. And I want folks to know that are thinking about going after, just be safe.
Do you support them?
Of course I support them. Protests are the foundation of this democracy. It's what makes this country great. And that needs to persist. And right now, people need to come out. But we need to be mindful of the toxicity of this moment. And then we have to deal with these elements that are coming in that are intentionally trying to take advantage of this in a way that only aids and abets Donald Trump. And this is what he was counting on. And we've got to push back. And we've got to be careful at this moment. I pray that people are cautious and careful at this moment.
We talked about this is in some measure about immigration, in some measure it's about democracy. Do you believe, some people have said that this is an attempt at distraction from maybe the matters with Elon Musk back in Washington? Why did this happen now, in other words?
He's the master of distraction. He's the commander of chaos.
What's your take on Gavin here? I think Gavin's messaging here, I think it's perfect. I think in these 15 minutes, I don't think I've heard him say anything I disagree. I think he's been very focused. I think his criticisms have been very, these are the bad things that Trump has done. This is unacceptable. I think he's hit emotional tones, why are you raiding schools? I feel like Gavin here has been pretty much perfect.
That's what Donald Trump does.
What did the protesters think of Gavin Newsom?
Moves this direction, move that direction. Look, this guy has 90 days, 90 beautiful deals. How many deals? 0. In the UK, give me a break. Elon Musk is the sycophant of sycophants as it relates to this love relationship that he had with the President of the United States said it exactly right. We're likely to enter a recession the second half of the year because of the recklessness of this tariff policy under this administration. He's just saddled our kids and grandkids with $2.5 trillion of debt to give billionaires and corporations a tax break that they're not even asking for. Of course he's trying to distract us.
I have a feeling there's a pretty good chance.
True, and it works. And it works.
In the White House, there might be a television on, and he might be watching us
I hope so.
right now.
Yeah, he can learn something.
What might you say to him if I'll give you the floor, you have the opportunity, what you weren't able to say to him on that phone call or calls that he hasn't taken today?
Where's your decency, Mr. President? Stop. Rescind this order. It's illegal and unconstitutional. And I said it. I'll say it again. It's immoral. You're creating the conditions that you claim you're solving, and you're not. And you're putting real people's lives at risk.
It's like Hamas, basically, right? It's just... it's the same shit. Trump loves the chaos. It's like what they watched on January 6th. They needed to send in the National Guard, right? Remember, all of these same people, this is just for your own edification, personal knowledge, because it doesn't fucking matter, right? But Abbott, according to conservatives, was fully within his right to stand up to the President of the United States when it came to enforcing immigration law at the border, by the way, which is totally unacceptable. And Bowser was solely to blame for not making a proactive request to the National Guard to help during the January 6th riots, right? Trump had no way to do that on his own, even though he's literally the head of D.C., because it's Washington, D.C. But when it comes to California, now the governor doesn't matter. Now the president can be proactive, and now the president can deploy National Guard troops immediately, even when they're not really even needed. Right? It's all a joke.
This is a serious moment, and it requires serious leadership. And it's time for you to be a commander-in-chief of the United States of America. And I will have your back if you want to work in a relationship of trust and truth in the spirit of our founding fathers. But you come after poor kids, you come after families, we will do everything in our power to stand up and stand in your way.
Governor Gavin Newsom, what time are you filing the lawsuit tomorrow?
Very early in the morning. I'd love to do it tonight, but we got lawyers working on the brief.
All right. Governor Gavin Newsom, thank you for being here live on MSNBC. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Do you think protesting the way you're describing even serves a purpose nowadays? It feels like a coordinated social media campaign could be equally effective and reach more people. Yeah, but there is no coordinated social media campaign. I don't know how many more times I can say the exact same thing.